Hopkinton, and welcome to the Hopkinton Hangout Hour. I'm going to be your host today, Mike DeRosa, with my co-host, wonderful John Ritz. John, how we doing today, buddy?
Doing just fine, Mike. How are you doing?
Doing great. I like the new look there. The camera looks nice.
Thank you.
How's we always get better because we got nothing else to do except stay home and work on these camera angles, right?
And there's absolutely.
Great. And joining us today is, everyone knows, well, hopefully everyone knows, is Liisa Jackson. Liisa, you just got to unmute your mic, and we'll be ready for you. And you just unmute it. There you go. Hi, Liisa.
Yeah, sorry. I'm using my phone today because my computer Outlook is acting funky, so I have to restart it.
Listen, we're Windows people. I understand your pain. I get it. So
yeah, it's like, come on. It's like something's up with it.
Welcome to the show. I'm glad you could make it.
Thank you.
So for people who don't know you, Liisa, introduce yourself to Hopkinton. Imagine you're finally seeing somebody you don't know.
Okay. So I'm Liisa Jackson. I've lived in Hopkinton for 20 years. I love our community. I have given as a volunteer, and then I've worked for the town of Hopkinton as well with the Medical Reserve Corps. I now cover 221 communities with the Medical Reserve Corps. So right now I'm super busy with COVID-19 activities and the Medical Reserve Corps response that we're doing. We're helping out at nursing homes, we're doing call centers, we're doing contact tracing, we're doing drive-through testing sites for COVID-19 and antibodies. We're helping out with homeless shelters. We're delivering food and working with opiate communities, working at quarantine sites and a bunch of other things associated with COVID-19.
Geez, you've answered all of our questions, Liisa. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And that's
you've gone through everything.
Right, it's like so much is. Yeah,
I had a question.
There's so much going on right now.
So tell people about the Medical Reserve Corps. People know hospitals, people know doctors. The MRC probably isn't as well known.
Right. So the Medical Reserve Corps came around after it was post 9/11. Because so many people showed up on site at the World Trade Center to help out. At that time, we didn't really need medical folks because of the situation. But a year after that, President George Bush had started the Medical Reserve Corps so we could pre-credential volunteers and do a background check and train our volunteers prior to a disaster. So that's how the Medical Reserve Corps started. And we really started just being mandated to do disasters. But since then, we've really worked to have volunteers really help out in any way in the community with public health outreach, to do flu clinics, to do work with homeless shelters, to help distribute food, to work with WellCheck senior programs. So we've really expanded over the last 18 years since we started in Massachusetts to really look at public health in the communities and to see where we could help out. So as of like 2 months ago, pre-COVID or pre-COVID response, we had about 14,000 volunteers from the state of Massachusetts, and now we've gotten another 5,000 volunteers. So it's grown exponentially thanks to Governor Baker talking about the Medical Reserve Corps and what we do and how people can help out.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful thing. And I
mean, there's so much more. Ask more questions.
John, I was just going to say to Liisa, I said, well, I joined the Medical Reserve. I remember joining the Medical Reserve Corps about 10 years ago. I think you talked to me about it. And I remember doing our first drive-through drill to learn how to drive through. We did it right here at the middle school. And
so we did
as I'm recalling that, we did the first one, and I'm saying to myself, wow, do you think we'd ever need this? And here it is, 2020, and we're doing them everywhere. And
exactly.
And thank goodness for the training.
That was our first drive. I'm sorry. What'd you say, John?
No, I was wondering, it's a national organization or a national, who's coordinating it?
It is.
At the highest level?
So it's under the Surgeon General's office in ASPR, which is, I have to remember that acronym. It really is under hospital preparedness. The funding comes from the CDC. And then in Massachusetts, we're lucky because the state actually adds more funding. So we're much more funded than on other states. So I think in Massachusetts, and I am very well connected nationally. I serve on a lot of committees. I served on the Surgeon General's focus group, the core competency group. I'm a peer support leader. I'm a mentor. So I know people from across the country, and we're very lucky in Massachusetts that the Department of Public Health gives us extra funding to really help support public health and to offer, really offer volunteer opportunities in a bunch of ways.
Yeah, it's not just doctors and nurses, John, the MRC. It's everybody. Okay.
Nope, go ahead.
Yeah, it's
so it's not just doctors
every
and nurses,
discipline that you could think about. It is. So anybody really can join the Medical Reserve Corps. So right now it's kind of interesting. Something that's come out is we're starting to use volunteers remotely more than we ever have in the past. We have local COVID-19 call lines that people are staffing. We have medical staffing those, and we have behavioral health. We've set up a multilingual line for COVID-19 information for communities. And we've also set up a Spanish line. And right now we have a little over 500 volunteers staffing those call centers. And we're also helping out the Massachusetts Department of Public Health with COVID-19 contact tracing, which for anybody that hasn't heard about it, I'm sure it's on the news every day. But with contact tracing, if somebody is exposed or test positive for COVID-19, then a team of public health and volunteers reach out to that person, and they kind of track back who that person had contact with within the last 10 days. So they look at those folks and then they reach out to them, not disclosing who originated the COVID-19 exposure, but really reaching out to those folks that may have had exposure and asking follow-up questions, either connecting them with care if they have symptoms, or getting them testing, or recommending quarantine. So that's been kind of an exciting thing that we've done with our volunteers. So it's opened up a lot more volunteer opportunities for people that don't necessarily belong out in the field right now because of comorbidities. They're over 65 or they have a pre-existing condition.
So Liisa, what's your background? Do you have medical background? Do you have administrative background? How did you qualify for all of this?
A little bit of everything. So I worked for the visiting nurses for 14 years, and I worked with hospice patients. I did long-term care. I did kind of everything. I was on the quality improvement committee, and I did a lot of training with new staff members that came in. And then I also did a lot of the JACO Joint Commission reviews. So I would go out and they would come out and see patients with me and critique my protocols for using PPE and taking care of the patients. And back then HIPAA wasn't that big, but really just how we spoke to the patients and dealt with the family members and kept everything private, and the professional development we had done over the years. So they really wanted to look at how our training and in-services had improved our quality care for the patients. And then after that, I became a stay-at-home mom, but that didn't last too long because I became involved in a lot of volunteer stuff. So Weston Nurseries had come up for sale. So I was looking at ways to really preserve the trail system and really preserve a lot of that open space on those 942 acres, if I remember correctly, and really wanted to see if there was a way that the town could purchase that property under 61A. As you know, we didn't succeed with that, but it gave me an opportunity to really get my feet wet with volunteer coordination and working with people in the public. And then I started working with the Trails Committee with John Ritz, who's here, who now runs it, or the Trails Club, I should say. We started a Trails Committee, and there's a bunch of stuff in town. I think there's a new Trails Committee, not the original one. I think they changed their charter. And John, you might be able to speak about that more. And then I asked the town for community preservation funds. Oh geez, I don't even remember what year that was. It might have been 2003, 2005, to start building the center trail. So I had some background in kind of community organizing, grant writing, dealing with municipalities, and I got offered a job to start building the Medical Reserve Corps. So that's where it all started. And now I cover 12 Medical Reserve Corps across the state of Massachusetts.
Wow.
That's pretty good. 12. That's 12 corps. That's 221 communities out of the 351. So
yep.
Yeah, that's almost a good 2/3 of the state that you're covering right now.
Yeah.
But that's not all you do, Liisa. I mean, come on. There's got to be. It's time for more. Let's talk about the health. You're big on the health, personal health, eating right, exercising.
Oh yes.
What else you got going on there?
Yeah, I'm a professional. Yeah, so I'm a professional bodybuilder. So I've competed locally and statewide, and got my pro card in OCB and what's the other one? There's some other bodybuilding organization. MBIF is two organizations that I got my pro card in. And then after that, I started a fitness business. And I still have a bunch of trainers that work for me that do in-home personal training. And a lot of what we do is we help people really look at their whole bodies, really looking at their total lifestyle, how much sleep they get, their quality of life, what they're eating, and the exercises that really suit them the best. So my Go Figure Fitness company does a lot of that. We also do meal planning for people, and then I work with some restaurants that do that actually provide food for people, and we customize a menu specifically tailored to the person. And it takes about 2 weeks to kind of flesh out what food works best for people. We look at a lot of things like what the energy level is, when you kind of have a low time in your day, what you need to eat to kind of boost that up, and really what times a day are you eating that are kind of causing possible weight gain or weight loss or lack of energy for exercising. So that's kind of been a fun journey as well. Learning about all the different types of nutrition, and really 80% of fitness is nutrition, and then the rest is activity level and really how you take care of yourself. You really need to get your 8 hours of sleep and drink plenty of water and at least exercise 5 days a week for 30 minutes. That makes you sweat. So that's one of my hobbies, I should say. I don't make a lot of money at that, but I do enjoy helping people feel better and get more fit.
So did
And
you have to
the
find,
people,
I was
what'd you
gonna say,
say?
did you have to
Go
find
ahead.
yourself, you have to find yourself adjusting to this virtual platform in that business as well?
Yeah, we've started doing that. And some of my trainers, I have Zoom Pro, which it's ironic I had to end up being on my phone today because of Outlook. So we do use Zoom a lot, and it's a great way to train somebody virtually. The only problem is I mean, what I found challenging, I only have one person that I train with every day, and it's challenging for me because I like to watch how someone moves, and then I can feel the muscle. I can see what the muscle movements are. It's a little more difficult through Zoom, so as an in person,
Right.
but it's working, and people are still getting their butts kicked, you know, so, and getting a good workout.
I think John had a question, John?
So
I'm just going
yeah,
through
go
my
ahead,
stuff.
John.
No, so the MRC, like you guys were mentioning, I remember the drive-through practice at the middle school, and things were kind of low level.
Mhm.
When COVID hit,
Yep.
that ramping up to that level of activity so quickly?
It actually, from when we started,
Oh,
and that was 2007, I think we did that drive through, or 2006. Oh, did we lose Mike?
No, we're still here,
Oh.
I think.
We still here?
We're good.
Okay, good. So we've ramped it up quite a bit, because really the Medical Reserve Corps has been involved in most of the disasters since then. And the first real big one was the ice storms in 2007. That's where I really learned a lot about, best practices, the best way to organize volunteers, what needed to happen on site. So since 2007, I've learned an incredible amount and kind of become a little bit of a subject matter expert in shelter operations. And so we've Nemo, all kinds of storms and floods, and things have happened, tornadoes. I ran the Mass Mutual medical side of the tornado response in 2011, and then ran the West Springfield at the Big E for the month of June in 2011, those shelters for those folks that were displaced from the tornado. So over the years, we've kind of fine-tuned how we do things. H1N1 was a great practice run for this. So H1N1, we had deployed our volunteers to educate the public about how to protect themselves from H1N1. So, and thank God H1N1 wasn't as virulent and as contagious as COVID-19. And then we ran vaccination clinics for the next year after that, once the vaccine was developed. So the vaccination clinics, in essence, emulate what these drive-through testing sites would look like. So that has given us good practice, but now this is kind of hyper speed compared to what we were used to doing. It's basically, I live and breathe COVID-19 right now. I dream in spreadsheets. So,
Yeah, sure.
but it's really, our volunteers have been trained, been doing all this over the years, and they know their stuff. The volunteers, even Mike, you did the drive-through 2007. You would probably feel much more comfortable helping out at a drive-through site because you had served at that particular training.
Absolutely. And just to give people just another notion how they can still volunteer for the MRCs, you do not have to be a doctor or nurse. I am neither. Yes, I'm a first responder. I do my first aid and CPR for my firefighting, but
Yep.
I do the truck driver, I did security, whatever was needed. There's other things that are needed other than doctors and nurses. It's not all run by doctors and nurses. They need admin staff, everything. Everything's part of it.
Everything. I mean, we do logistics. Like we have a big clinic being set up in Medford on Friday. So we'll be setting up tents and tables and, really setting up to do we're going to probably test about 500 people that day. And we're going to do it in a 3-hour time period. So, and our throughput's pretty good. We have a system that works pretty well, but really we can use anybody and everybody that has time and is willing to help out. So and generally the way we look at it, for one clinician, we need 4 support staff in the event of a disaster or an emergency dispensing site or a triage center and, all the things we do as a medical reserve corps.
That's
So
true.
let's-
And
can we
getting
talk
the
about the
notifications are
volunteers? So how
easy. I
does
mean,
one become-
yeah, go ahead, John.
Say that again, Mike?
How does,
Well,
I love
we'll
the-
let John go
I love
first.
the
How's that sound?
delays.
Go ahead, John.
Um,
Delays are wonderful.
So
Okay.
how does someone become a volunteer? What's the contacts, and is there a training process?
It's really simple. You just go to www.maresponds.org, and then you will be prompted to go through the registration. It's through the Department of Public Health, this registration system. And then you would be able to take a training after you do that gives you an orientation of what incident command is, what you might be asked to do as a volunteer. We talk about privacy and all of those things. So it's you would have those trainings, and then those of you that are on my mailing list, like Mike, you see all the trainings and all the things that come across. We do active shooter drills, we do decontamination drills, we work with the Department of Transportation, we do train derailment mass casualty drills. We worked with Otis Air Force Base, and we did a mass casualty drill with the Army. We also do a lot of local drills with our flu clinics, so people are able to see what it's like to do something large scale like we do now. We've done thousands and thousands of flu clinics, getting seasonal flu and other vaccinations out to the public, and the volunteers help with that. So those of you that are on my mailing list, you get a lot of emails from me, but we have a lot of volunteer training opportunities and volunteering opportunities.
Yeah, there's a little bit of everything for everyone. There's so much that you can do.
Yeah.
And the emails are a great system because, you can just sign up right from there, hit that little link, tell them that you got the message, and you can just sign up right from there. It's real easy to do.
It's slick, and on my end, on the back end of it, I can go in there and I can download a spreadsheet with all the volunteer information that I need within that. So whenever I set up a registration like that, it's very easy for me to go back in the system and pull out, I can look at all the volunteers that volunteered, and like for the Medford event that's coming up Friday and the week after that, I kind of look at where people volunteered and try to pick people that are geographically closer to the area and have background that have served in other events like this. And then also I try to pick some new people so they can learn. So when I look at those lists, and it's been amazing to me, like with the Medford event, I sent it out in an evening, and within 3 hours, I had 20 medical and 29 non-medical set up for the 15th. And then I had 28 medical and 35 non-medical set up for the 20th. So it was pretty amazing how quickly people respond. And it even has a text feature in it if I need it, if it's something that's really pressing.
Right. That's awesome. Well, besides all that volunteer, there's also something else that you failed to mention is your HCAM association, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
You remember those days? Those training films?
Yeah. Well, I did a bunch of training videos and we still use them. In fact, we did the emergency dispensing site for Medical Reserve Corps volunteers. with the Department of Public Health, and then we did emotional resilience for first responders, and that was that, and we still use those videos. Those still are foundational for a lot of our volunteers, because luckily when we built it using instant command, things didn't change that much, so it's still applicable to volunteers. And it was a nice way to take instant command and really apply it to Medical Reserve Corps volunteers, because they don't need to know all the levels of instant command, but it was nice to do it specifically for what their role would be in a disaster. And then I worked with Margie on the Margie and Liisa show.
Yeah.
And
what happened just before all this happened? What were we doing?
We were doing a fitness show, and then
Right.
My world, of course, blew up, and I was hoping to do a training once a week to give to people and help them with nutrition and all of that. So we'll get back to that. We'll do it again.
That's right. We still have the pilot is in the can, and I'm not letting you off the hook. And
no, don't let me off. I will be glad to do something else.
And I still have your Tupperware I got to bring back to you from the food from the first show.
I gave you some, right? Because I forgot we did all those meals too.
Yeah. I ate them all. They were delicious.
Yeah, that's awesome, and they're healthy. So. But we'll definitely get back to that. And I need to do something other than COVID-19 after this is all over, just to keep myself interested.
So
I want to say that I love Hopkinton because of all the trails. And almost every weekend I get out on my horses and ride some of the most beautiful trails and are just right from my house. So those of you that are all getting active right now during this situation where we're not getting out a lot, there are so many trails all over Hopkinton. And John with the Hopkinton Trails Club you're probably not doing monthly hikes at the moment, but I imagine you'll start up again, right, John?
We will be doing those again in yes. When they let us out on the trails again. But it's nice to see so many people out on the trails.
It is.
Liisa,
and it's, go ahead, Mike. What?
Listen, you mentioned about being on the trails with the horses. Can you do me a favor and just tell our viewers, how do you approach on a horseback rider on the trails? Because I know what to do from the road, whether I'm on my motorcycle or my car. I know what to do with that. But I want you to explain both. What do you do on the road and what do you do on the trail?
Well, there's actually laws that you're supposed to, like when you're driving, you slow down and stop and let the equestrian get by, because horses by nature are spooky. So if something loud happens, they could jump one way or another, and it might run into the car or make it unsafe for the rider or the driver. So, and it's kind of the same holds true on the trails. We like to ask people on their bikes or that are walking if they just step off the trail while we pass. Knock on wood, my horses are really acclimated because I ride so much. They're kind of bomb proof. They can have dogs blasting up to them and kids coming up to them. We must be in more family photo albums than I could count, because everybody's like, horses, and I laugh. I'm like, well, nobody gives me this attention when I walk down the street, but the horses, I think they think they're like movie stars, because people stop and they take pictures and they're like, tell them how beautiful they are. So the horses like think they're, they actually love going out and seeing people. My horses do anyway. So, I'm like, what such attention, that they get, and everybody's telling them they're beautiful. And one of my horses, Steve, he poses, like when someone's taking a picture, he like lifts up his head and tries to look all stately. He's such a
Steve is not shy.
No, he's not.
Not at all. Well, Liisa, I want to thank you for coming on today. Our time, believe it or not, our half hour is up, and I need to wrap things up to go on to the next half hour. But thank you, and we'll be in touch again soon, maybe next week or the week after, get a little update of what's going on, seeing if there is a light at the end of that tunnel.
Awesome. Yeah, and there is.
Excellent.
With good planning, science, and following what the experts say, we should be in a good place.
Great. Excellent, Liisa. John, thank you again for helping me.
Glad to do it.
Thank you both.
All right. See you guys
Have a
in
wonderful day. All right.
All right,
Bye.
thank you, John. Thank you, Lisa. And up
Bye.
next is going to be Matt Clark to give us a little update of what's coming up this week on the Hopkinton Hangout Hour and on HCAM. And then we'll be off. And Tom, I'll be joining Tom for our next guest. Matt.
Thanks, Mike. Well, coming up right after this, we have one of our HCAM binge blocks. And for that show, it's on HCAM Ed today. I selected a few games from the 2018 fall football season, which is always exciting to see. And then tomorrow on the Hangout Hour, we have Heather Bachman on the show and followed by Jared Keene.
Great. Thanks, Matt. And joining me now is Tom. Tom, let's bring us into this half hour.
All right. Thank you very much, Mike. And joining us on the show momentarily, we are going to have Rob Dedominic, owner of the Tradesman, as well as Karen and Emily from Caffe Sorrento. And it looks like Karen and Emily may be here now. Ladies, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Can you hear us?
Not too bad. Yes, can hear you perfectly. I love the masks.
Yeah.
There you go. So how have you both been throughout this whole thing? And for the people watching, introduce yourselves, talk about your workplace and what they specialize in, and what your role is there.
So I'm Karen.
I'm Emily.
Hi, everybody. We work at Caffe Sorrento, and to tell Milford us. And since COVID-19, we've been doing a ton of takeout. The community has been overwhelmingly generous and supportive at this time. They know that they want to keep our doors open at the end of this to come down and have a drink and eat on our patio. So they want to make sure that support that we need, which is very, very overwhelming. No. Okay.
Excellent. And Rob, are you with us?
In theory.
All right. So if you see a little video camera in the bottom corner of your screen, you have to hit that to get your camera going. There you go.
There we go.
Perfect.
Hi, kids.
So Rob, how you doing?
I'm going nuts. How you doing?
The world's going a little nuts.
Yes.
Can you talk about your workplace and what you do?
I am the tradesman, and I own the Valley Pub out in Northbridge. What we do is entertain, with some libations and food, of course.
So Rob, talk about the status of the two places that you own. I know the Tradesman, I believe, is closed right now, but I know you did delivery for a while. Talk about what's going on at those two places.
Well, what's going on is I checked the insurance, and burning them both down wouldn't be a good offset. So I guess we're going to keep going. We're just stuck waiting to see what's next. We didn't continue with the takeout because we figured it's not really cost effective. We're not Sorrento. We don't do food like they do. We do a lot more. We're more alcohol. But, it wasn't cost effective. And at the time, we thought we'd be part of the problem if we just added to the more people touching stuff. So, and the Valley never did it. And then we just said, let's see what happens. And nothing's happened.
So Karen and Emily, Caffe Sorrento is still doing a takeout and curbside pickup. How is Sorrento holding up?
We're busy. We've been busy since day one. We have so it just kind of carried over. I think we've noticed that a lot of people that wouldn't normally order takeout from there are new customers. We've been getting a lot of new customers too because there aren't as many options for people. So hopefully when we do open back up, we've got some new customers as well, which is good. It's good for us.
And from what I've seen, it seems like there's been a big community response to really support local restaurants and businesses as much as possible. What's your take on the community response that each of you have seen? And we can start off with Karen and Emily.
Sure. For us, our community response is, like Emily said, they want to see us up and running. They want to see us open. And we've been very vigilant on everything sanitized for Board of Health, per the state. And We make it very comfortable for the people to come in. We have wipes and sanitizers and Lysol spray, and it makes it easier for people to order food to pick up. They're not as intimidated when they know that your place is clean.
And Rob, what's your take been on the community response to help out local establishments?
Well, Sorrento's doing great.
Rob, come.
I get Sorrento from there.
Rob,
All right, so. Oh, sorry. Did someone have something to add? All right. So obviously, with this technology we're using, there's cutouts here and there, so we do our best. So, Rob, I understand that there's been a couple of fundraisers to help support your business. Can you talk about those a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Those are fantastic. Jennifer Teft organized one. She just one night, she got a hold of me. She goes, I want to do this. I want to do this thing for all your bartenders that got knocked out of work because obviously they're getting killed. And I was like, great, do a little thing. So she got a bunch of like the locals together, a lot of the mostly acoustic people, but little mix mash. Everybody just donated their time. And we set up a Venmo. And then it was a Friday and Saturday night. So they did it. And behind the scenes, I was talking to Chris, and I said, this is very sweet. This is a great idea. If we make $1,000 in the 2 days, I'll be absolutely thrilled because, nobody's working. So it's a tough time to hit people up for money. And we ended up doing just over $4,000. And I was shocked. I mean, one of those times I was start crying. This just felt so good for all you people. And I was just like, man. Yeah. So I really hope things get back to normal at some point because I'd really like to pay all those people back.
Well, that's just terrific. And you guys do a lot for the local music scene, and the Tradesman certainly one of the biggest music places around. So I think it's really cool that the artists are kind of helping you guys out when you need it a little bit.
It's very cool. It's like the worst place in the world to play, but everybody wants to play there.
It's not that bad. Come on now. That's really.
You've been there. It's tight.
I know. Oh, it is tight, which I think it adds to your atmosphere and your uniqueness, And let me tell you something. Don't knock your food. I mean, Sorrento is great, but don't knock your food at the Tradesman. Come on.
Oh, I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking it, but we don't do food at the level that Sorrento does food.
Correct. Yeah.
Or the volume.
Yeah, a few other places I frequent Cornell's in Hopkinton, and they kept their 4 to 5 days a week. They kept their takeout going, just their regular menu. And yeah, and anyone in the bar business, it's all about the alcohol. The food ain't the money. The food just keeps you there to drink more alcohol. We get all that, but they decided to keep things going and just to have just some business stay in the community's mind. And the outpour, if anything, the outpour from the community has been fantastic to all these people serving because they know nobody's making money here.
No, absolutely not.
And so now, as we get closer to our May 18th date, that magical number that the governor is talking about, right? And as he slowly starts opening up the Commonwealth, at what point, this is a big question for all of your fans, when are you going to pull the trigger on Labor Day?
The Labor Day is already in the process of being done because you have to plan it months in advance. You can't just go on August 1st. Okay, everything's open. We can go.
Yeah.
The plans at the moment, not set in stone, is actually the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. First time.
Wow.
Only time. Only time.
Wow. That is great.
We won't do it again next year. It's just because it's kind of a special thing. You don't want to saturate, even though it's once a year.
Right.
But at the same time, we figure people be so twitchy and we know enough bands, but we also don't know what the rules are going to be. So maybe a little less crowd on Saturday and Sunday is easier than trying to jam everybody in on Sunday because the rules could be different even come Labor Day. I don't know how on earth we monitor those rules, but
Is there any point if the Commonwealth still isn't open up, let's say May 18th, and that turns into June or July? Is there a cutoff time for you to say, hey, if they're not going to open up the way we think, this is it, and we're going to cancel it? Anything like that?
If they don't open us to June or July, there's a lot of people that won't open again.
Right.
So,
which leads me to my next question is, how has the state been helping out the small businesses? And meaning, have you had any luck with the help from the Commonwealth?
Well, since this is PG, I'll kind of defer that question a little bit. But I ended up getting the grant.
Good.
To help you out. But that's not a lifesaver because it's still a loan. Like the way they worded it, it's like a freebie, and it's not a freebie. Certain things are, certain things aren't. Which I mean is still helpful, but one of the things that's murder in this thing is, say we come back June 1st with all kinds of restrictions and whatnot, but we can only operate at 25%. My property tax isn't still 25%.
No.
My liquor license renewal, which is 2,000 in Milford and 1,000 in Northbridge, do I get a discount on that? The state told me I couldn't operate for 3 months. Why do I pay full rate? You know, everything, even if we only have 25 people, because the T and the Valley are the same, it's 95 capacity. So that's 23 people. Is the 2 people working part of those 23 people? Because I have to pay 2 of those people.
Yes, they are.
You know,
your kitchen helped too.
well, that's what I mean. You know, my kitchen's one off.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the kick. There was kind of a saving grace with the flip side of sports having no fans, because then people will miss the social interaction. And then when like bars and restaurants come back, going to watch sports in a bar and restaurant is now, they're like, I just got to get out of the house because they can't go to the games.
Right.
So you end up absorbing all that. But now that doesn't work if you can only have 20 people in your bar.
Right, because you normally have a full house at a game anyways when there were fans going, and now you can't have a full house, and now you're adding more people that are gonna want to come. Nothing's gonna be easy.
No, and then then they're also gonna say, okay, you can operate at 25% capacity, but you have to do all this on top of that. So you're gonna incur more costs while making less money. I mean, it's kind of got a ludicrous to it that you can walk into Home Depot, touch 300 things, and walk out, but you can't sit there with a bar,
right?
With like people, you know. I mean, it's nobody knows anything, and it's hard to grasp. It's hard to see that light at the end of the tunnel at this point.
Sure.
Because we're a thin margin business. People like to yell at you and think the tea does great because they walk in and it's packed on a Friday night. I'm like, well, it's not 35 people in here 24/7.
Yeah.
You know, it's Friday.
And yeah, that Friday night's taking care of you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
It can. Well, our Mondays are pretty good too because the steak's awesome.
Oh yeah, but, you know what I mean. Sure.
Yeah.
But I see Karen over there shaking her head in agreement. Karen, you say same thing, right? Yeah, I mean, you'd rather have the bar open than just sell a takeout.
Absolutely. I never thought I'd say this, but I miss making espresso martinis. I will say that. I did a lot of them, and I hated them, and now I miss them.
The blender works.
Well, I'm sure people will be wanting one when things finally reopen again. Karen and Emily, can you talk about how the Caffe Sorrento staff is doing overall, and what has been the procedures as far as scheduling people to work? Have you been trying to spread it out and give everybody a little work, or could you just talk about the procedure as far as staff scheduling?
So the kitchen's been doing very well. They're all working, morning, noon, and night to do the takeout, which is great. Their paychecks are there. As the front of the house for takeout, Linda's been taking a lot of the load off as the owner. It's a lot of work, and we don't have staff because you don't have your dining room open and you don't have your bar. So you can only put, one person on a shift, maybe 2. So we have been spreading out over about 8 people here and there, a couple hours there. And everybody's got to be on the same page, following sanitizing protocol and stuff like that. So, the more you have, the easier it is to be lax. So, just sticking to a small routine with a few people rotating.
And I think that with our business and with the amount of food that we do, like we all decided early on, like the first day that this happened, it was a Tuesday, we had a meeting, and I think we all agreed that it wasn't for us to just close the doors and not rotate through everything running, because then it would just be harder to open back up. We've already had like a lot of things happen this year, so us to have closed the doors and not know when we were going to be back open just didn't really make sense to any of us as far as the longevity of the business. A lot of the employees that have been there for a long time. So we, more than anything, want this place to open because it's where we've worked forever. These are all of our friends. This is our family, you know, so we're willing to do whatever we can. If we're, you know, having a chicken parm sandwich on the corner of Central, and that makes it so that we all have a job in a couple of months and all of our friends can come back in, I think that we were all willing to do that.
Mike, did you want to jump in with something?
Yeah, I wanted to know. Of course, I'd ask Rob, but he's not open. Did Caffe Sorrento have to change the way they did their business? So yeah, you could get takeout there, but now that's all you're doing is takeout. Did you add delivery, or did you have to revamp your whole style?
We did delivery for a few weeks and it was just too much as far as like, we're not delivery drivers. People don't leave their outside light on and you're driving around looking for a house that doesn't have house numbers on it. You know, you got one house at the end of South Street in Hopkinton and then the next one's on the edge of Bellingham. It just didn't make sense.
Right.
And it wasn't necessarily people that were older and were scared to leave the house. We found it was just people that just didn't feel like getting cars. And we offer curbside so we can bring it outside and they don't have to worry about the germs part of it. So we did stop doing it a few weeks into it. But with that being said, we have people that we know don't want to leave their house, older people or sick people, compromised. And when those people call, by all means, we'll get in the car and drive it to them.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, by trade, I'm not a delivery driver either, but yeah, I've been doing deliveries just to help out the place, and I don't get paid. I just do it to help them. And but I tell you, the people have been fantastic. Everyone is so super supportive, and so I haven't ran into one bad apple yet.
Yeah. Are you delivering for Cornell's?
Yeah, I deliver for Cornell's just to help them out, Ellen and Aaron and Melissa. You know, they're working there a few days a week, and like I get a tip or whatever, boom, I just throw it in their bucket. It's not for me. I just want to help them out. They help me out with my dog when I work my other job. They come and take care of my dog when I'm away. So it's a little bit of payback for them.
Our customers are like that too. When our customers come in, they're like, God, you guys so much. You know what I mean? Like, I can't wait to be back in here at this place. I can't believe it's empty. This is a Friday night. You know, it's hard on everybody, you know, and everybody just wants to get back to normal and, you know, do what we do, see each other, you know?
Right, yeah, I'm missing the whole social aspect. And I tell you, you know, I mixing my own drink. That's a lot harder than it looks. You girls behind the bar make it look easier.
Got to put your finger in it.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And, and I do want to mention for all you viewers out there, we are taking questions on our YouTube page, Facebook, or by email at studio@hcam.tv. So if you have anything that you want to ask Karen, Emily, or Rob, feel free to send us your questions. So Karen and Emily, what have been some of the changes as far as cleaning procedures in the business with you guys still open?
So, you know, ordering Lysol by the case, Clorox wipes, we can buy them. We took I think as Rob mentioned, we don't know the guidelines yet that we're up against, but I do, Rhode Island just allowed them outside dining starting May 18th. You know, we border so close, I follow them, and you know, it's paper menus now, throw away disposable menus, disposable salt and pepper, disposable utensils, disposable plates. So you're thinking of using our takeout plates to serve you in, and then we can just cover them and you take it home, whatever you have left over. We've been trying to get ahead of it. So when we are allowed to open, we're not running around doing 30,000 things. So we've been really trying to focus on the health and the safety procedures for our customers when we do open back up, and especially now when they're picking up. You know, it's very important to stay disinfected and clean.
And has there been any contact from like the health department about things that restaurants should be doing? Have you heard from any government officials or the health department on any of that stuff?
Go ahead.
We heard from somebody from the Board of Health on the first Tuesday, and we were having our meeting discussing what we were going to do for takeout. and someone came in and just talked about things real briefly with us, but I don't think, have you heard anything else? I don't know. I think it's very frustrating because even with saying, you know, we're going to put food and takeout containers or have disposable silverware and stuff, like we don't know because nobody's really said anything. And it's like, if you're looking at, you know, hypothetically, everybody's thinking we're going to open up on the 18th. It's like that's days away and nobody said anything yet. So, you know, it would be nice to have something where they say, this is what you need to do, and having everybody scramble. Because I think we're all ready to open up and we're assuming certain things that we have to do, but it would be nice if, you know, we knew what was happening, which nobody knows what's happening.
They're just gonna follow the state anyways.
Yeah.
Rob, even though you have been open, but just from what you're seeing, do you see yourself saying, hey, when we open, I think I'm going to change this or I'm going to change that?
No, I mean, not really. I mean, the tea's like one of those no-fail gigs. You just don't want to. Goes pretty good. Don't screw with it. You know, I mean, there's always room for improvement, but at the moment, no, because we're going to be. Generally, I just spend money like it was water. I was like, oh, I like that idea. Let's do that.
Right.
Now we can't do that because the money doesn't come in.
Sure.
And
the scariest part. Sorry, Tommy, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I forget things, so I got to say when I hear.
no, that's okay.
I got to say when I think of it, or it's gone. You can't shut us down again. We can't go for like a month and a half, 2 months, and they go, nope, we don't like it. A lot of cases on the rise, can't do it. Every one of us will be out of business. There's no way around that. Look what if they should have froze us and just said, if the state can come in and say you can't work, then the state should step in and say, all your bills are frozen, and you shouldn't have to. Then you can hold off because we told you can't work. And I know you really can't do that, but that's my biggest fear is we're going to get rolling again. People are going to start feeling normal, and they're going to go, there's a spike in cases. All the bars, restaurants down again. And I'm terrified that's going to happen because it's like my entire life is tied up in both my bars. Yeah. So what do I say? It's like, what do I got to get a job in the economy that's now destroyed? You know, to pay back the hundreds of thousands of dollars I owe. So that's my biggest fear. And two, those masks are awesome. Where do I get some of those Sorrento masks?
That was my last question, Rob. Damn it.
We'll make you some tea ones. How's that?
There you go. I'll take them.
All right. We're really not going to make them up.
Caffe
These
Sorrento.
are 20 years old.
I tell you what, Rob, I'll
sweatshirts.
sell you this thing for $40.
40 American? I didn't get a stimulus check, you know.
That's a pudding shot.
Karen and Emily, I think you should definitely start selling those masks publicly. I think a lot of people would love one.
Great.
That's outstanding. That is really good work. So, Karen, how about you? I mean, you've now had to adapt, and you did a little delivery. You're doing the curbside. You see any changes that you're going to stick with, that you're going to keep?
Well, definitely the sanitizing. I mean, it got a little lax. You forget about, you know, the chairs, and when people get up, you know, you kind of forget about those small things that now become a big thing in society. So, you know, definitely more cleaning. Not that we weren't clean, but again, you forget the menus.
Right.
You forget to wipe them down every time. When a Friday night you're slammed, you got 30 people waiting to sit. You don't have time. Now you do. Now you make the time.
I think that's a great idea with the disposable menus. Just, you know, I know that you can get the free placemats, the paper placemats that have all the advertising on it, but of course now you're going to put your menu on it. Now that's going to cost you money. So it seems like no matter what changes you do, it's going to add to the dollar, and it's nice to add to the dollar when you're in business, but when your business is in limbo, what are you going to do? You know, it's hard to really put that money forward when you're just trying to keep up, just trying to, like Rob says, you know, just trying to be able to survive, to open those doors once again.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to, you know, every business in Mass is going to have to spend some money on,
Sure.
You know, germ proofing their restaurants, and whether it be throwaway cups. We haven't even heard anything yet about sanitization of our glasses or our martini glasses. And, you know, that's another important thing, that if we have to invest in a paper product or a plastic product, we'll go through, even if it's
another cost.
Right. Even if it's at 25% capacity,
Yeah.
people have 2 or 3 drinks at $2 or $3 off. I mean, it is going to be an added expense, but, you know, at what cost do you put the jeopardy of your customers' safety?
Right. And again, I hopefully they don't think like that, because I think better than those plastic cups is your dishwashing system. I mean, those things, what is it, 170 something degrees or whatever, in the chemicals that they add to it. I mean, they're the cleanest glasses you're ever going to get, but you're getting stuff that's packaged plastic. Where were they from?
Exactly.
Just because they came out of a new plastic bag, don't make them nice and sanitized.
We're not going to order our martini glasses from Wuhan, just so you all know.
That's good. I'm gonna check your bill of ladings. I want to make sure they didn't come from Wuhan, right?
Own glasses in.
Yeah.
Bring your own glass. If you don't
Bring
wanna
your
drink-
own. Oh, sure. Everybody, how much is a martini in this 24 ouncer?
That's a pretty good idea. I like the bring your own cup idea.
I like that. That's good. Just like the Pirates used to do in the old days. They have the cup on their belt.
You bring your flask. So, Karen and Emily, what do you think the restaurants are going to look like when they reopen? Do you think it'll be a situation where you're at like half capacity and you have to have the bar stools a certain amount of feet away from each other? What do you think things are going to look like?
So, just to follow up, I think 6 feet apart for a little while for tables. I think we're gonna have to block off some, do every other kind of thing. We're gonna have to do a special seating chart. You don't want to lose your bigger tables. I think parties 6 or less. I personally don't think that they're going to have some strict guidelines. Unfortunately, that's what I foresee. Hopefully, I'm wrong. But like Rob said, 25, 30% capacity. And I know Rob has an outdoor deck. We have a patio. I think it's going to be, sparse. People will be out there, and we have to make do with what we can. We'll allow in the front, no more smoking outside, and put some tables out there. We're going to have to make do with the property and the space that we have and utilize.
We have the upstairs function room. Like there's been a little bit of discussion about maybe open in, on a busier night so that we can put more people in because we have a very high capacity anyways, and we can utilize that if we are serving food upstairs as well, which we don't normally do. So, whatever. We're all picking our brains, trying to figure out how we can make this work the best way that it can,
Right. It's certainly going to be interesting at first, that's for sure. So in my opinion, I think entertainment will be probably one of the last things to come back because I'm sure they don't want to encourage dancing and stuff like that, where it puts people in close proximity with each other. For all you, what's your take on the entertainment industry? And do you agree that maybe it'll be probably one of the last things to come back?
I think that's going to be up to the business owner personally. If we can afford to pay the entertainment, which we love at Caffe Sorrento, and same thing at the Tradesman. A lot of local acoustic musicians that play both places. We would, as Caffe Sorrento, would love to be able to bring them back. Hopefully, we can work something out maybe the first few months because they're not playing right now, so it's easy to cover. Hopefully, we can bring them back on a very similar routine as what we left off with.
That'd be good because those DJs on Friday nights are wicked expensive, right?
Yeah, we're gonna knock that price down, Tom.
If we did down on that, that's awesome.
Well, it's not the lowest price right now, so.
Yeah, you work for food, don't you, over there? Hey, Rob, the last thing I got for you is how long do you think you can last at a half capacity or less? Or is it worth it?
Half capacity I could actually kind of live with, I think. But it kills all your big events, which totally kills you because same thing for Sorrento, but like we murder turn football during even like when the Bruins are in the playoffs, it does pretty good. Right. Stuff like just the bands. I mean, we have a band every weekend. Now you can't do that, even at half capacity, because you're gonna be full and the band counts as part of the capacity. So we get 4 people in that, there's 4 less. So it's I don't know. So it's tough. It's killing the musicians. So I can tell you that. I hear that enough.
Right.
And it's killing me not having them because we had a good little thing going on that nobody saw coming. Throw a monkey in the plans.
Unfortunately, we are out of time, but Karen, Emily, and Rob, thanks so much for joining us. And we hope that everything works out and we'll see you guys reopen at the Tradesman and also keep doing well at the Sorrento.
Thank you for all our customers.
Thank
Please,
you.
the support.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for having us.
Huge. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Tom.
guys.
I didn't do anything.
All right, that's going to wrap it up. From all of us at HCAM, I'm Tom Nappy. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. Take care, everyone.